In this video, we're going to talk about finding real zeros of polynomials. So actually, before I get started with this question, I want to say, what is a zero of a polynomial? What is a zero of a function? We've already talked about roots, right, or solutions, right? These are all the same thing. So you could think of a zero as a root or as a solution. Another word for a zero, you could say, is an x-intercept, right? So it's, so a zero is basically the value of x when y equals 0. Okay? So, or in other words, when you could say when f of x equals 0. Okay, so that's what a zero is. All right, so let's find the zero of this function. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the f of x equal to 0. So I'll have 0 equals x to the fourth minus 3x squared minus 4. Okay, so now my goal is to find what x's will make this equation hold or true, right? So you remember a long time ago when we were talking about factoring, I mentioned, this u substitution. That's going to work out really well for us here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do u equals x squared. So, u squared in that case would then be x to the fourth. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug that in. So then I'll have, instead of x, I'm going to have u squared, that's x to the fourth, minus 3 times u, right, because u is x squared, minus 4. Okay, let's see, this is easily factorable. So I'll have u, and then I need to think of, two things you multiply together, and you get negative 4, and then when you add them together, you get negative 3. So that's going to be negative 4 and plus 1. Okay, so this function, or this equation, is going to equal 0. The right-hand side of the equation will equal 0 if u minus 4 equals 0, or if u plus 1 equals 0. Let's go ahead and put back x squared now, because I don't care when u equals 0 as much as I care when x equals 0. So let's do that. So x squared plus 1 equals, okay. All right, now let's solve for x. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. I'll have x squared equals 4. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 4, which is 2. Okay, so x equals negative 2, x equals 2. Those are two roots to this function. And okay, let's go over to the next one. So we have, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So I'll have x squared equals negative 1. Ooh, x squared equals negative 1. That is not possible. Okay, there's no solution to that. There's no value of x I can put in and square it and then get a negative number, right? So these are the two roots. X equals negative 2 and x equals 2. Those are the two roots. Those are the two zeros. Okay. Why does it say real zero actually? So, when I say real zero, what it's saying is that's a real number. All right. I guess technically I could have solved this and then have an imaginary number if I took the square root of negative 1. But, we're talking about finding the real zeros or the real numbers. Okay. Now let's do another example. So this one, I'm still trying to find the zeros. So I plug in 0 for f of x. That's going to be the first step. All right, now I just need to kind of factor this and figure this out. When is x going to, satisfy this equation? Okay, so I'm going to look at this in two parts. I see something I can pull out that's common amongst the first half, and I can pull out and make it and have something that's common in the second half. So what I see is I see that there's a common 4 and a common x squared. So I'm going to do that. Pull out the 4x squared, and what I'll be left with is an x minus 2, right? I'm just using the distributive property. So if I were to take this and distribute it back, I'd get 4x to the third. Take this, I'd get 8x squared. Okay. So, and then over here I see a common 2, right? That's all actually. So, and then I would have x minus 2. Oh, see, these two are common. So now I can pull that out. 4x squared plus 2, and then that times x minus 2, right? So basically what I did is I took this and I pulled it out. So if I were to multiply this term by 4x squared, and then this term by 2, what I'd get is up here. Okay, so I'm trying to find when this equation is satisfied, when this will equal 0. So if 4x squared plus 2 equals 0, this equation will be satisfied. If x minus 2 equals 0, this equation will be satisfied. So let's go ahead and solve both of those pieces. So if I have 4x squared plus 2 equal, oh, I didn't do anything. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So let's do that. Subtract 2 from both sides. So I have 4x squared equals negative 2. If I were to divide both sides by 4, I'll get x squared equals negative 1/2. All right, this is the same problem that I had in the previous example. I can't square on any number and get out a negative number. So there's no solution to this, or no real solution. No 0 for that part. All right, so now let's go over to the other side. If I were to add 2 to both sides, I would get x equals 2. So that's the root, and that's the 0. That's the only 0 that there is. So, the 0, you could write this out, the 0 of f of x is 2. That's the way you would write that out. Okay, lastly, I just want to mention that there's this rule. It comes in handy, something good to know, that a polynomial function of degree n with real coefficients has at most n real zeros, okay? So if you're doing, if you have a function, a polynomial function, 3x to the 5th minus 2x, I don't know, something like that along those lines, and you were to, find, all of the real zeros, and you were to find that there's 6 real zeros, you would be wrong, because here this degree of this polynomial is only 5. So you can't have more than 5 zeros. So in that case, you would have to go back and check your work.